I'm a 32-year-old male, married to Emily, a 30-year-old female, for 4 years. We had a pretty solid marriage, or so I thought. There were always little things, but nothing that made me think there were serious problems. We both had decent jobs, a nice house, and everything seemed pretty normal on the surface. I loved her, and I thought we were happy, or at least that we had a strong enough bond to work through whatever issues might come up. Boy, was I wrong. About a year ago, I found out that Emily was cheating on me. And it wasn't like I stumbled into a few suspicious texts or noticed she was acting distant. No, I found out in the most brutal way possible by walking in on her and her affair partner, Paul, a 35-year-old male, in our bedroom. Let me backtrack a little. I'd been away on a work trip for a few days, and I decided to come home early to surprise her, be the spontaneous, thoughtful husband. Instead, I got a surprise that I'll never forget. I walked into our house late at night, expecting a cozy evening together. But the moment I opened the door, things immediately felt off. The first thing I noticed was clothes on the living room floor. At first, I thought maybe Emily had friends over or something, but then I heard it, that unmistakable sound of laughter, talking, and other noises coming from the bedroom. My heart sank. I knew in that moment what was happening, but part of me didn't want to believe it. I wanted to be wrong. I wanted to walk into that room and find something innocent. But when I opened the door and saw them, there was no mistaking it. Emily was in there with Paul. They didn't even notice I was standing there for a few seconds. I didn't say anything, I just stood there in shock, my whole world crashing down around me. The rage that hit me was like nothing I'd ever felt before. I wanted to break something, anything. I was seconds away from losing control, but something in the back of my mind stopped me. So, I took a deep breath and changed my plan. Instead of barging in, I quietly collected all their clothes, shoes, and personal items that were scattered around the house. I didn't make a sound as I gathered everything, went outside, stuffed it all in my car, and drove off. I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but I just needed to get the hell out of there. I ended up driving to a dumpster behind a strip mall a few miles away. I dumped everything, clothes, wallets, phones, even the guy's car keys, right into the trash. Then I turned off my phone and headed to a friend's house to crash for the night. We drank a lot, and I didn't go into detail about what had happened, I just said my marriage was over. The next morning, after a night of drowning my sorrows, I turned my phone back on and was immediately flooded with calls and texts from Emily. At first, she seemed confused and worried. She had received my flight information and knew I had come home early. Her messages were frantic, asking where I was and if I was okay. But as the night went on, her tone shifted. She started to freak out, wondering why the house had been broken into but nothing valuable was missing. Then she put the pieces together and realized it was me. But that's not even the craziest part. Paul had a bigger problem on his hands than just missing clothes and keys, he was stuck at my house without a way to leave. His phone and keys were gone, and he couldn't drive home in his birthday suit. In desperation, he called a friend to pick him up. Unfortunately for him, this friend's wife had a nose for trouble. When Paul's friend arrived to pick him up, his wife tagged along, and she immediately knew something was up. She saw Paul leaving my house in ill-fitting clothes, clearly trying to cover up something. She took pictures and sent them to Paul's wife, Rachel. 33, female, yes, Paul was married too, and his wife had no idea about the affair. Rachel didn't waste any time. She confronted Paul with the pictures, and it didn't take long for him to confess. Their marriage had a prenup with an infidelity clause, and the pictures were enough to blow up his life. Rachel filed for divorce within days, and Paul's prenup was shredded. He stood to lose a lot of money, his house, assets, everything. What was supposed to be a secret flame ended up costing him his marriage and most of his net worth. Emily, on the other hand, spent weeks begging me to come back home. She swore up and down that it was a mistake, that she loved me, and that we could fix things. I wasn't convinced, but she convinced me to at least go to counseling to see if we could rebuild trust. I agreed, though deep down, I was already done. For a few months, we went through the motions of counseling. Honestly, I didn't think there was any real hope, but part of me was curious to see if she'd ever take responsibility for what she did. Spoiler, she didn't. During one session, Emily made an outrageous claim. She said that I was responsible for Paul's life falling apart. She argued that because I took his phone, keys, and wallet, he couldn't leave discreetly, and that's how his wife found out about the affair. According to her, if I hadn't interfered, Paul's marriage wouldn't have imploded, and now she felt guilty because Paul was facing financial ruin. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Emily was blaming me for Paul getting caught, as if her cheating had nothing to do with it. I shut that down quickly. I told her point blank that none of this would have happened if she hadn't been sneaking around behind my back. I reminded her that Paul's life falling apart was the direct consequence of their choices, not mine. That was the final straw for me. I moved out of the house, got my own place, and started the process of filing for divorce. Here's where things get even more wild. After Paul's divorce went public, I got a Facebook message from his wife. At first, it was just a vent. She was furious about what had happened, and we bonded over being the blindsided spouses. We started meeting up for coffee, then dinners. We'd talk about the mess our exes had created and the betrayals, and about how we were both trying to move forward. One thing led to another, and before I knew it, Rachel and I started dating. It wasn't something either of us planned, but it just happened. We found comfort in each other, and what started as shared anger turned into something more. It felt right in a way I hadn't expected, and for the first time in months, I actually felt like I was healing. Emily found out about me and Rachel pretty quickly, thanks to a mutual friend who thought she deserved to know. She wasn't happy, to say the least. The idea that I had moved on with Paul's ex-wife infuriated her. She started sending me angry texts, accusing me of trying to destroy her life and calling me immature for dating Rachel. She even tried to claim that our relationship was disrespectful to her, to which I laughed and said that it's not her business who I'm dating, and to leave me alone or maybe to reconsider dating Paul again, which made her even more angry. But I don't care anymore. So here I am, I'm in the process of finalizing my divorce, I'm dating Rachel, and Emily and Paul are both fuming. Part of me feels like everything has come full circle, but I'm also wondering if I've gone too far. I didn't plan to start dating Rachel, and while I'm happy with her, I wonder if it's making everything worse. So, am I the a-hole for taking my wife's affair partner's things, indirectly causing his divorce and now dating his ex-wife? I think the original poster, OP, handled the situation much better than a lot of people would have. The OP didn't confront them, which could have ended much worse, even though the OP had every reason to snap in that moment. Honestly, karma came around full circle for both the OP's wife and Paul. The fact that the OP is now dating his ex-wife is just the cherry on top of this crazy story. The OP deserves to find happiness after everything they put him through. The OP needs to keep living their best life, and now let's hear the community's opinion. Not the a-hole, you showed an incredible amount of restraint by not flipping out when you found them together, which is more than a lot of people would have done in your situation. Taking their clothes and tossing them was a funny, harmless way of getting back at them, and Paul's life falling apart is the result of his choices. The fact that you're now dating his ex-wife is just karma working its magic. You deserve happiness after everything that happened. Emily and Paul have no right to be mad about anything, they caused this mess. They're adults who made terrible choices, and they're dealing with the fallout. You simply didn't let them get away with it quietly. The way you handled it without resorting to violence shows more maturity than most people in your position would have managed. And the fact that you and Rachel found each other after being hurt by the same people, that's poetic justice. They have no right to be upset that you've moved on with someone who truly understands what you went through. Not the a-hole, you were cheated on, lied to, and disrespected. You could have handled it in a much more destructive way, but instead, you got some revenge in a relatively harmless way and let their own actions do the rest of the damage. The fact that you're now dating Rachel is the ultimate comeback. Paul and your ex-wife deserve whatever feelings they have to deal with now, it's their fault after all. You've moved on and found someone who understands your pain. Keep doing you and don't let their bitterness drag you down. I've been with my significant other for 9 years. He is the youngest of 5, his mother has custody of 9 of her grandchildren. His oldest sister has 5 kids and moved to Georgia about a year ago. She was having a hard time paying bills, so her mother-in-law, and my significant other drove down to bring her and her children back to our home state. She's been back for a week. I've been in contact with her because I know she's crowded where she is, it's 4 adults and 14 kids. Well, her mother put her and her kids out in the rain, so my sister and I drove an hour to pick them up, with the promise of gas. We never got it because we understood her situation. The mother put her out because she wouldn't give her more money and some other bull. Anyway, I let her and her clan come stay at my 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. I told her she can't stay long, so we have to figure some stuff out, but I wouldn't just leave them homeless. I laid out my rules: clean up after yourselves, don't eat our food, please bathe, and be mindful of my puppies. Since they've been here for 3 days, they've managed to break my toilet, overflowed it twice. They threw their empty chip bags on the floor, candy wrappers, and a chocolate candy wrapper, which is rude in itself. But I have a dog, and she can't have any of that. Yesterday, I cleaned up every room in my house, I moved my son's bed and cleaned under it, the refrigerator, back room, etc., like deep clean. Today, I left to do laundry, and when I came back, my house was a mess. My significant other was cooking, and she was sitting on the couch with her headphones in. I laid down because I have a raging headache and didn't want to react the wrong way. My boyfriend comes in and tells me, "Don't act like that because I missed you." I got angry because I missed my house not being this damn dirty. No one could have expected me to come home and be happy about the state of my house. I told them to pick up the trash because it had been overturned, and they said, "Sorry, didn't notice," even though I watched everyone walk by it. I went outside to call my mom and vent. My boyfriend told me I was being an a-hole, and that it could be cleaned. It shouldn't have gotten to the state it was in. "This is your house, too," he said. "You should have known I would be pissed off." My sister said I was overreacting and just to tell them to clean, but why should I? There are 2 other adults here, and the oldest child is 14, with my son being the youngest at 6. Am I being an a-hole? I took pictures, but I'm not sure if I can link them. I just went to the bathroom and there was poop on my toilet seat, I didn't notice it until after I sat down. After calming down some, I explained why I was pissed. She said, "Yeah, I've been getting on them about it," but then added, "None of them are small children." I've been very vocal about my expectations. So, what do I do next? I don't want them homeless, kick them out with enough bus fare to get to the nearest homeless shelter. If your boyfriend objects, add some extra bus fare for him. What were you realistically expecting when you took in a homeless mother with 5 kids, who has definitely made a number of poor choices, doesn't have a job, any money, and seems rather content with the mess in her life? That she would respectfully have her clan in order and offer to help in the house? Not happening. It's amazing that you were concerned about her and went out of your way to do something, but by moving her in, you have made a terrible mistake, in my opinion. Do you know how long she intends to stay? My guess is forever. She will not leave on her own, that's for sure. Eventually you will have to kick her out, and you will be accused of being an a-hole, even if she does find a job and there is light at the end of the tunnel. It will be too long before she's able to get back on her feet, and by then, you will be at the end of your tether. Do not suck it up out of human courtesy because it will soon bite you in the butt, big time. You need to set up a date for when she will be moving out, a clear date with witnesses. Don't just mention it in passing, both she and your boyfriend need to know that this is extremely temporary, as in a few more days temporary. We had a talk about the house being filthy, then it happened again. I left early and came back late, except the second time I had to text to tell them to clean up and got a confirmation. Twice, I came back to a dirty house, and the response was, they did clean up. Well, why didn't they keep it clean? So, we had another group meeting, kids included, and I told them again that I do not like dirt and I won't be uncomfortable in my own house. Literally, every single day, I have to tell them to clean, pick up your clothes, don't leave your underwear in the bathroom, don't leave your toothbrushes on the sink, don't leave your towels in the shower, don't piss or poop on my toilet seat, don't leave food on the floor. Every single day, I complain that everyone has their own standards of clean, but mine is the way it has to be as long as they are here. The night before last, I asked them to come pick their clothes up off my son's bed floor, and everyone ignored me. So, I told them I was putting it in the trash. She told them to sweep the living room, but yesterday when I had company, I realized the floor was still dirty. So, I started cleaning, and from under my couch came loads of food, clothes, shoes, underwear. I also found out she's been letting her daughter sleep on my couch, knowing she pees the bed. So, the entire couch, inside the pillows, as well as the end table next to the couch, smells like old pee. On the end table next to the couch, someone has chewed bubble gum and sat it there, and on the table. I'll admit I was sleep deprived, but I may have overreacted a bit when their kids came. I told them they weren't allowed to touch the trash until their mom got home from work. They came in and put their dirty socks on the couch and dropped candy wrappers on it. They threw things on my son's room all over the floor. It was the last straw. I told her that she has until next Friday, when she gets her first check, to leave. I feel disrespected. They're too old for me to constantly repeat myself about cleaning. My son isn't the problem because these are new issues. I created a cleanup chart for everyone. They're not allowed to eat or drink anywhere but the dining room on the floor. Then I went to sleep and woke up to a sink full of dishes that I'm leaving until everyone is home. I let it be known that this is the last time I will be ever speaking on this again. Update 2, until today, I have 3 jars of change in my room that belong to my son. In one jar, there was $2.40 of change. When I went to borrow $1, I counted and realized it was only 375 cents in there. They also cleaned the other jar out and left only pennies. Yesterday, I went to visit my dad's grave. It's a high-stress time for me, so obviously, I'm super pissed about it. I asked the kids, and they immediately began to blame each other. Apparently, when I left yesterday, they came into my room and stole all of the money. I only recovered $15 of it. I immediately made them pack their stuff and leave, and I feel bad for the mom because she truly has been trying to control them. But I can't take any more. I literally raised money for them to get brand new coats, gloves, and scarves. I'm the one that cooks and does laundry. I'm the wrong person to steal from, and I just don't understand. There is a sense of relief by having them gone, but I feel like a huge B-word. It's cold here, and I'm not sure they are going, but it's not my problem. However, I can't help but be concerned. I also broke up with my boyfriend, but he's on the lease, so he'll be here for 30 more days. I realized him and his sister were constantly making me the bad guy, and I was the only one complaining. Also, he waited until I went to sleep to say, I'm going to pick up my sister. When I told him not to bring her back here, he slammed the door and left. A few hours later, he came back with her and her children in tow and basically told me she's a legal tenant as he is, and she has 30 days to vacate, which I suppose is true. But why would anyone want to be where they aren't wanted? I usually have her kids from 3 to 6:30 every day, except yesterday. I left them home for an hour to go to the cemetery, which is when the money was stolen. Even their mom, who put her and her kids out, tried to guilt-trip me into letting them stay because it's cold, saying it's not their fault when it actually is. They aren't small children who don't know right from wrong. They are 14, 13, 12, 10, and 9. I told them that I will call the non-emergency line to file a report about the theft of my stuff, and now they're mad, and their mom is constantly calling me. I really don't know what to do. How do I handle this? Also, since they've been here, I have a serious roach infestation. When they left, I decided to clean so I could spray some more. I found dirty underwear under the couch and a pile of food inside the couch. You let them walk all over you, and now they're complaining that you won't let it continue. Make it clear that you'll file charges for theft and with CPS if they turn up on your doorstep again, no matter who lets them in. Block their mom's number. You need to charge them for theft, and you should call CPS because the mother can't control them and needs help. The children need help. It sounds harsh, but maybe the children should be raised by someone else than their mother, or else they will end up badly. It might already be too late, but I would definitely call CPS. Update 3, my landlord did know they were here, she just didn't know they wouldn't leave and stay this long. She's a super cool lady, and she told me to handle it how I see fit since they would fall under my tenancy. So, I had my mom draft a rental agreement, and she approved it. My monthly rent is $680, but I've always paid $800 so I can own it faster. My ex-boyfriend always paid a portion of that at $300 and then paid the utility bill in full, along with internet. We were just having the sister pay what she could for the utilities, which have gone up drastically since they've been here. I made her pay the $200 water bill last month, on top of the rest. I don't want to make this too long. I presented them with a new lease since they insist on staying, and I told them rent and bills are due on the 1st, and late on the 5th, or my landlord will start the eviction process. Rent for him is now $350 plus whatever the light bill, plus a portion of the gas. Rent for her is $400 since it is 6 of them, plus the water bill. I'll pay the remaining amount towards rent and the gas bill, but I can't afford the internet, so it will be turned off effective immediately. New rules, the children are not allowed to be here alone, so you must leave work early in order to meet them when they get here, or my hourly fee of $40 per kid per hour is effective immediately. This does not cover food, only a snack provided by you, paid daily, or CPS will be called for abandonment, just like a school would. Helping with homework is now considered tutoring, and I have different rates for different subjects. My dishes, towels, tissue, and soap are no longer communal and will be locked in my room. I will count and check daily. Laundry has to be done at least bi-weekly, as it will pile up. Cleaning has to be done daily, or everyone will be responsible for the cost of a housekeeper. The cost of an exterminator/bug removal will be added after I find someone. I'm unable to get a mini fridge right now, but I'll be taking all of our food down to my mom's. I told them I spoke with an officer about the stolen money, and we will be going forth with charges. I lied, and the money was magically produced in seconds, all of it. They were pissed and said that was too much, and she would have to change her entire schedule. She can't produce that much money in a day, blah blah. When I pointed out that she should have money since she claims she has been saving, she backtracked. I went back to my room and heard her tell her kids to get their things. She told me she would be out by the 1st and had the nerve to ask me to be a reference. Should I be a reference, and should I charge her a prorated amount like an apartment complex would? Be a reference, so she's out of your hair more quickly. Don't charge her for the reference, she might not use it, and she'll be around longer. A bit of background, EA is a nun, but seems to think having taken a vow of poverty means her family must now supply her with the things she can't get for herself. For as long as I can remember, she's turned up at my parents' house to spend her holidays, where my mom is supposed to wait on her hand and foot because she is a guest. She has demanded money and other material goods from my father, like mobile phones. In the time of unbreakable Nokias, when phones with built-in MP3 players were brand new technology, she demanded one from my father because another sister in her order had just been gifted one by her family, and she wanted one too. She would also overstuff herself at every meal because, according to her, she didn't get these things in her convent, and would use this as a justification for basically attempting to eat all the food in the house during her stays. Which brings me to the story. This happened a few years ago. For context, I live with my parents because that's what we do in my country. I work Monday to Saturday, with Saturday being a half day, which it inevitably never is. And this was one of those days. I called my mom around 4:30 p.m., saying that I was done for the day and that I was coming home. My mom, being the kind soul she is, asked if I've had lunch, and I tell her that I have not. She tells me that the bananas that had been brought in a few days ago were getting overripe, and that she would make me some fritters with them, in an effort to keep me from eating unhealthy street food. I get home an hour later to find a single fritter and a very pissed off mom. Because she knew I would not eat the entire batch of fritters, she had put them on the table for tea time. EA, however, had eaten all of them. Mom had informed my dad and EA that I was coming home and that I had not eaten all day. She had made the fritters for me so that I would not starve till dinner, which we normally ate around 9 or 9:30, or fill the void with unhealthy food. She was really pissed because, even after she took the plate with the fritters away from the table, EA still stole more from the kitchen. Mom only managed to save the one by hiding it and saying they were over, as usual. EA's logic was that she doesn't get fritters in the convent, so she helped herself. I get home at 5:30 and eat a single fritter. Sometimes, it really is just not your day. Edit. So, my family and I are no longer in direct contact with Ye. I only saw her again last year for her golden jubilee. Yep, she's been a nun for 50 years. With the whole family, she's pulled enough bull with her convent to have 0 leave, so she's not allowed to leave whichever house she's assigned to, except for her job. Also, she's apparently pissed with my father for saying no to her money demand once. So, basically, I'm free of her nonsense. Remind her that greed and gluttony are sins.